Heart attack? No!
We were supposed to learn everything we could from our books, but we never paid any attention. We saw some crap that we didn't even know. Johnny, he's trying to show me something. He's trying to show me everything. And I never got to chance to tell him to thank him. I never got to tell him thank you.
You said a lot with our words. We needed to care about you. Leave him here for now. Come get him later. We should burn him.
I think that'd be okay. That's what they used to do back in the old days, before the missionaries. They say that his spirit's still around even though after his body already is dead.
That should be good for us. If he stays around, I mean.
Do you think that's even possible? That his spirit can stay around even though after he's already gone?
Well, I was 7 when Mom died. And the way I see it is, she's still around me.
There's an old story. That's the Northern Lights are the great warriors.
I like that. I don't think Johnny would want to die in a hospital or his house. This way he dies in the Nahani where he was born. Oh wait, I forgot there was a letter I found in his coat pocket. You should read it.
My name is Mary Canadian. I'm a nurse at the hospital here in Yellowknife, NWC. I'm a day nurse from Fort Providence. My patient, Johnny Raven, has asked me to write down his testament for him in English, as he tells it to me in slavery. I regret that the English words that follow will only be an approximation of the thoughts of slavery. Johnny Raven, name. My last comes from my original Dene name, which meant Raven's Eye. I was born not far from the Great Falls of the Nahani. I was born of the mountain people who lived on the Yukon side of the mountains in the winter and built long boats out of moose skins to come down to the Keel River or the Ross or the Nahani in the spring to trade at the forts. At the end of the summer, we would pack our dogs and return on foot to the mountains. We made our fall hunt, mostly sheep back then. We made as much dry meat as we could for the winter, We were never many, and the new diseases that were coming into the country took many lives, including my mother's. After that, we had to stay in the low country. My father took me into the mission, but I didn't stay there very long. He came back for my little brother and me, and we lived in the bush. Sometimes I wish I'd stayed longer at the mission, only because I would have learned English there. As it is today, I cannot speak with my grandchildren and the other young people, and that is the worst thing. If they understood slavery, I could tell them the stories and what we learned. Sometimes when I think about their future, I'm overwhelmed with sadness. Is it true that what the elders know, the young people no longer need to know? I'm leaving my thoughts in hopes that some younger person will read them and maybe think about them. I will not live much longer. This is my message to you. When we lived in the bush, the land was beautiful and felt just like it was new. We always had to be working to try to survive. We lived in the lean-tos and stick teepees covered with branches or hides. Most time, there was enough to eat, and there was joking and laughter and dances. We wore rabbit skins, beaver, or caribou jackets, if we were lucky. But sometimes there was no game, not even rabbits. When I was 11, my father starved to death. In 1928, that's when all the people came together to get their treaty payments. They were all in one place where a steamboat came down to the DHO and influenza arrived with it. Many of the elders died, and many of the young, including my first wife and baby son and baby daughter. More and more white men came into the country. They built houses for us if we would stay in the village instead of living out in the bush. It was necessary, they said, so that the children could go to school. So we accepted our payments and the houses that they built for us so that we could live like them. And our children went to school so they would talk like them and think like them. I've lived in the village for many years now. I'm not cold unless I go camping out on the land. I don't ever have to go be hungry. I see someone sitting and watching TV all the time. Some of the best hunters these days have gotten so good at loading up their VCRs that they've forgotten how to load their rifles. There's so many useless pursuits now that I can't make anyone happy. My mind goes all the way back to living in the bush and watching the ways of the animals and the sun and the moon and the rivers. And I think that the life we lived in the land was so much more interesting. Outside the village, the land is changing. It is not so beautiful as it was. Fewer and fewer animals can live on it. First it was gold, and then it was oil, and then it was uranium and gold again. Then the forests themselves, and now it is diamonds. Only a few people benefit, almost never the Dene. The Dene have never been a greedy people. Just as the bear shares the dens with the porcupine, we shared with other people who've come. Now our young people never have to say, enough is enough. But unless they know the land, they won't fight for it. Unless they think like real Dene people. They won't even have the land to go anywhere they need it. There is so much unhappiness among the young people now. Anger, drinking, fighting. They say they are bored, and I believe they are. If I didn't stay busy always making something, I would be bored too. We Dene used to roam over the land. There was always something new. The land is all around us. The land has the answers. But many of us don't know even go there anymore. The young people now have it much harder than we did. Because who would want to go back at a time when you could starve to death? Yet if they stay in the village and do nothing, they will die inside. They have to go away and get a school education. But away from home, they won't have any idea who they are. So they come back into the village, and then they are angrier than before. They have it much harder. They need education to get good jobs, like this nurse at the hospital. They need to become the carpenters and the mechanics and the teachers. But I believe this too. They also need a bush education. Otherwise, they won't be happy even if they are successful. They need to get both educations, just like they need to learn both languages. In the old times, when the elders passed on what they had learned to the next generation, it wasn't so that we go back to the past. It was to ensure that the people would know what they needed to continue to survive. That's the way the elders still feel today. We want to help our young people to face the future. If they lose their knowledge of the land and the knowledge of their own language, the real Dene will disappear forever. I hope the old stories will not die. They are beautiful. They help us to pass the wisdom down from all the elders who are gone. The elders who had strong medicine that gained from the land and the spirits of the land, and it can be passed down. Myself, I've always had strong rhythm medicine. I wish I had someone to give it to. The nurse asks how it's been in the hospital. I say I miss the taste of the moose tongue and the beaver tail. I don't know if I will ever taste them again. The doctor wants me to stay here, but as I told him, it's time to go back to the Nahani now. And I say to you, take care of the land, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Johnny Raven.